Mark,
Paul,
what's going on?
just reading comics digitally.
Yeah, yeah. I got a question for you. What's better than us doing a deep dive on one comic book on this deep dives?
Probably us doing a deep dive onto.
Two comic books. That's right. We got double the trouble today. We're going to take a look at the Monkey Prince number 11, and then we're going to take a look at the last one shot, which is Lazarus Planet Dark Fate, and we will do that right after this. So before we get started, don't forget, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, hit a yeah, exactly. Leave a comment down below. Let us know how we're doing, what you'd like to see us do in the future, and hit the notification bell so you're notified whenever we upload new content as well. So as I mentioned, we have two comics to get to today. We have Monkey Prince number 11, and then we have the final one shot of Lazarus Planet Dark Fate
That's
number
right.
one.
This is the final one.
hmm And then we will go back to Lazarus Planet Omega.
Omega.
Yeah. So we're going to start with
Curveball. There's gonna be a gap in this full Lazarus Planet event deep dive stuff, right? Because there's a caveat coming later.
yeah. Well, I think we have this week we have Lazarus Planet Omega, I think, right? Then we have Batman and Robin 5,
Okay, so we'll be
right?
steady.
Right, and then we'll go into, I think in March, we'll go into the Revenge of the Gods,
Okay,
um, I believe. So,
very good. Okay, so I wonder if they have Revenge of the Gods lined up for this to continue weekly. God, I hope it does.
yeah,
I wouldn't really want any gaps in it. Not at this
really,
pace.
yeah, you want to keep the momentum up that they've generated so far. So,
Yeah.
we're going to talk first about Monkey Prince number 11.
I feel like an
Um,
idiot holding this.
yeah, this was the second part. Lazarus Planet crossover into two issues of Monkey Prince, number 10 and number 11. Number 10, we saw basically the Supergirl Monkey Prince connection. Here, we are taking a look at the Monkey Prince's origin, basically, and how the Ultra Humanite is trying to get the Monkey King out of the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, because he assumes that he should be able to control him or him bend to his will, kind of thing. He wants to use them like an asset as a power source, a weapon.
Right. And so they try to do it at the start, but it shuts down, and that's because we learned that when they got this projector or whatever you want to call it, only
Phantom
half
Zone
of it is the
projector.
exactly only half of it is the original part. The other part they had to construct, and we'll see why it was broken into a little bit later in the issue. Um, but they basically decided what they need to do is they need to break into the Hall of Justice, which has seen better days over the last couple months. I got to tell you.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. So they have to break in to get the other half of the the
Phantom
projector.
Zone projector. Yeah, they want all the original parts, which are housed in the safety vault there. So, like, we'll go get it.
Correct. Um, we find Monkey Prince then basically confronting both the Ultra Humanite, who is the grandfather of the Monkey Prince, and one of the Ultra Humanite's henchmen, and we see they kind of get into a little battle, and at the Hall of Justice, because that's where the Monkey Prince confronts them as they're trying to put everything together at the Hall of Justice. Um, and he does his little clone thing again with his
Yeah, it was
hair.
super fun. Yeah, it's definitely a whimsical comic, but they handle it well, balance it nice.
Right. They managed to put the Phantom Zone projector together using the two original parts. And what they do is, as they do that, they manage to pull the Monkey King at least partway out of the Phantom Zone. But then he is confronted by the Monkey Prince. And yeah, it was a great double page spread there. Um, basically with the Monkey Prince telling the Monkey King, "Look, I'm your son," and he's like, "No, no, you can't be my son." And so um,
Yeah, they
they
go
go
through a cool
on,
back and forth. That battle was awesome. Like
right?
kind of fighting and discussing at the same time if he is his son. The Monkey King criticizing his ability to pull the hair and create the clone army and one
Right.
upping him and now Monkey King does it and his clones aren't even little chibis. They're like full size people.
Exactly. Which automatically the Monkey Prince is envious of, and he wants to know how to, how do you do that?
Not just how do you do that? Are you sure you're not my dad? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you are the
Uh,
father.
right. But then also what happens is he does pull one hair out of himself actually, and he's able to basically transform that into a younger version of the Monkey Prince, who has all of his experiences. Up until I'm assuming the point that he pulled out the hair, and what we find is that it goes back to the original um, battle for when they originally went to go and try and steal the Phantom Zone projector. And what happens is there was a battle, of course. Superman comes in. He basically smashes the Phantom Zone projector in two. It seals the Monkey King in the Phantom Zone, but we also have this huge asteroid or boulder or whatever you want to call it that comes flying through the Phantom Zone before it closes, and inside is is baby Monkey Prince.
It was almost like
Um,
it was a cool little parallel on Clark's story because Clark and the Justice League are there stopping Ultra Humanite and shutting down this Phantom Zone projector. All the while, Monkey Prince's adopted parents are Ultra Humanite's number one henchman and henchwoman. That meteorite falls at their feet, and they discover this baby just like Jonathan and Martha Kent did. And
right.
despite their henching and they're trying to take over the world with the Ultra Humanite, they still have that urge to take this child and protect it for whatever means. From what I know, just out of compassion. I don't know, or if it was out of curiosity for them being scientists. I'm not too sure. This is only my second issue into this title, but they seem like loving parents to him.
Right. Yep. Yep. And so the two of them, the Monkey King and the Monkey Prince, have this conversation. They basically he's telling him about the Monkey Prince is telling him about Nazar, and he references the sash that was from the
He's taken it off,
Dark Fate.
hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, the Lazarus Planet Alpha. And then he says that he needs the Monkey King to help defeat King Firebolt, who is the bad guy in at the end of the
Alpha.
Lazarus Planet Alpha. Um, and so he basically says he can't, but that he has everything. The Monkey Prince has everything that he needs in order to defeat him. And so he goes back into the Phantom Zone. Um, the Ultra Humanite lets him go, now realizing that the Monkey Prince has everything that he needed, that he was trying to get from the Monkey King. And so what he does is he throws this like dart at the Monkey Prince, and it's filled with nanites or nanobots that basically attach to all the internal organs inside of the Monkey Prince. And if he doesn't do what the Ultra Humanite says, he will experience excruciating pain.
Ultra Humanite turned him into a remote control.
Exactly, exactly. And so we basically go along, and the Ultra Humanite says, "Have fun with the Justice League, but not too much fun." So at some point, we are bound to get the Monkey Prince interacting with the Justice League as well. So it was a good, the one thing I like about the Monkey Prince is it's a quick read, but it's really enjoyable. Things happen,
It's
fast and
loaded.
quick,
It's
and
loaded with
yeah.
content.
Yeah, yeah. But it's not something that kind of drags you down. That you have, it's really fun to read. The writing is really whimsical and everything. So it's like I really enjoy that, and I've been enjoying it the entire run. So hopefully we'll see what happens because it's only scheduled to go one more issue, but maybe they'll turn it into an ongoing or something. But yeah, it's
Oh,
only
I'm sure
scheduled
we're
to
going
be
to be
12
seeing a
issues.
lot more of this character. A lot
Oh yeah,
more. I feel like
absolutely.
this is really just his introduction. This series seems like it was like a proving ground series with all the guest appearances using the star power of more notable characters to really bring in other readers. and then attaching him so heavily to the front end of this little event has been a great introduction for people like myself, even who missed the main series.
Right, and I can't imagine with the way this one ended. I mean, I suppose they could resolve it in one issue, but it seems to me that that's more of a long term type of a plot thing that's going to go on than
And
just
DC's
one more
like
issue.
flooding their universe with new characters right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Speaking of that, we have you have the original. I have the Huntress cover.
I go
Um,
A cover, my guy.
yep.
I did get the 1 in 25 variant of it.
Oh, nice.
I gave it away on the Tuesday live stream. It's
The Doom
features
Patrol. Yep.
Lazarus Planet with Doom Patrol, which was probably my favorite story out of it. Definitely,
hmm
probably was. It was wild. You're muted, Paul.
I'm
There you go.
back
You're
now.
back. Yep.
Um, the first again, this is four stories, just like all the other one shots have been. 10-page stories. The majority of them do indicate that there will be more coming along the line that will continue the stories at some point somewhere. Here we have the Huntress, not to be confused with the Huntress that is in the Justice Society of America comic. This one is Helena Bertinelli, or
Hmm.
Helena Bertinelli. So this is the newer Huntress, not the older Huntress, um, who is basically
Storming
uh,
Arkham Tower.
exactly. She's going back to Arkham Tower, and she's basically going from bad guy to bad guy, basically putting them back in their place. She does come across Killer Moth, who is one of my favorite uh, villains of the way past of Batman, back to the Silver Age.
Yeah, it was a lot of offbeat characters from Killer Moth to Zodiac. It seems like there's been people inside of Arkham Tower that were affected, so they took a lot of these lesser known, low level, obscure villains and gave a reason to go watch Huntress beat them up and get them back into their cages.
Right, which is really all it is four different or five different times that happens, and then really the biggest of the entire story is there is a dripping of some Lazarus resin that comes down the wall, falls into someone's cell. We don't know who, um, but it basically does something to him. We can tell because we see the outside of the cell with them inside saying, "Oh no," and it says it'll be continued in coming this summer. But again, we don't know who that's referring to.
And if it is a hint as to who it could possibly be in this cell, it does say danger, do not wake on the cell door,
Oh
above the
right,
cell
yep.
door, do not wake. So I was kind of racking my brain thinking about, I wonder what villain it could be. And I can only assume it's going to be somebody else who's very obscure. So I kind of just wrote it off.
Yeah, I mean if it's hmm,
Why would they
I,
be sleeping?
I don't know.
It was a fun
That
story, action packed, fast paced. It was a trip down obscurity lane with some of the characters, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. The second story, as you mentioned, is the Doom Patrol story. It's done by the same creative team that's going to do the Doom Patrol series.
Dennis
Um,
Culver and Chris Burham.
right. Which it's been a while since we've seen Chris Burnham in the door in the DCU. He did some with Grant Morrison when they were doing the Batman Incorporated way back
Hmm.
when. But yeah, he definitely has he has a really polished style for one thing that I really like. It's really detailed. Um, and you know what? How could you not love a story that has a chainsaw nun in it?
Yeah, Chainsaw None.
Yes.
Another one of the first appearances that we see in this book. We see numerous. This is the first one, is Chainsaw None. Basically, we get the Doom Patrol called to an island by a shifty general who says that they have an installation that's gone dark, and they've sent men in, and the men aren't coming back. So they want to send the Doom Patrol in to get to the bottom of it, promising them whatever they find down there, whoever they find down there, it is up to the Doom Patrol to do with it as they see fit. The general will be hands off and let them make the calls. So they agree and they go in, and it goes quickly to crazy town.
Yes, it really does. There is just, I mean, this kind of looks somewhat like the Quantum Mania.
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel like they were leaning into like what we've been seeing with the television show as well. They get in there and it almost seems like stuff you would imagine the quantum realm with the environment. You can't make heads or tail of what it's made out of. Crazy vibrant colors. There's crazy clown people in here. There's monsters in here, and they seem like the more that they fight them, the more they're being overrun. They call in for backup, and through a portal, Chainsaw Nun comes in. Yes, Chainsaw Nun. Her hands are grotesquely made of chainsaws.
Mhm.
Not even nice looking, but disgusting looking. And all the while, Larry Trainer is sent Negative Man out to go investigate further in, and he sees some stuff and he comes back to his body there where he takes his body and he goes sits down with this individual who seems to be the cause of it all. And we have this
Mhm.
mutated individual from the Lazarus resin who's sitting there, and their mind is pretty much manifesting all these horrors down there. And it's almost like an autoimmune response that's happening to being attacked in the fright. So by Larry surrendering, he's winning by sitting down and not being combative against this individual who is just scared, having just an automatic response. He promises, "We'll take care of you. We'll get you out of here." They get topside, and of course, the general's first words are, I can't let you leave." And they don't give the general an option. Chainsaw Nun jumps in the front of the pack like, "Let's rock," which was cool. And he didn't back down, but then we get the big reveal that the chief shows up, and not Niles either. We have Crazy Jane is the
Right.
chief, and one of many of her personalities who makes the call like, "We're leaving. You can try to stop us. You won't. We're out of here." And this is going to be continued in Unstoppable Doom Patrol on sale next month.
Right.
All in for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Crazy Jane has been one of my favorite characters from the TV show as well.
Yeah, she's
Um,
awesome.
they've done a really good job with her. Um, but yeah, it was fun. It moved the story forward for the Doom Patrol. It gave us some things new for the Doom Patrol. It gave us something to look forward to as well. And you know anytime it's kind of like putting an orangutan on the cover. Anytime you got a chainsaw none.
Yeah, never
I'm
passed.
all in. I'm there.
That probably did a good job of playing to the characters well. They all had a little moment, enough dialogue to really get an idea of who they are, what they're bringing to the team, kind of thing. So if you're new to the characters, this would be a fun little story to kind of test read to see if the Unstoppable Doom Patrol series would be something up your alley. Definitely unique in the sense of like the variety of characters, the tone, the subject matter they're going to deal with. This is going to be something that's not like the other stuff in their catalog currently. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, uh, third story. We see Jules Jordan. We see basically, although we're maybe supposed to think it's the Flash, it really is Jules Jordan, who is an actor who is portraying the Flash on a stage, who is talking to the Turtle and how he is going to um, basically fight against him, and that he will the count. He says the counter energy to the good and justice of the Speed Force that powers me, the Flash, toward victory. So we're talking about the Still Force here, which the Still Force, for those who don't know, was created by Scott Snyder in the Justice League series. As kind of a counterbalance, and it basically has been, what the Turtle, who was one of the Flash's villains, he was kind of, it was kind of woven into his origin or whatever about
Yeah, it
the
kind of
Still
comes off as
Force.
just like energy absorption.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So we have this actor who is basically, uh, trying, to make a living. He basically decides that what he's doing right now is not currently working by playing the Flash. So, meanwhile, there is a deluge of Lazarus resin falling from the sky, um, and it falls on him. And Although he is non-binary, if I read this correctly,
This
so
is
uh,
a trans man. They made
right,
sure to go about showing that by the panel right there with the shirt up and the scars from the breast removal.
there you go. See that? Keep
So
going.
that's
I'll
what
dig
had the
into it.
internet all hopped up because this did make headlines that Circuit Breaker here, first appearance of a character,
Right.
first appearance of a transsexual man character as well. I think that's the right way. Yeah, trans man character. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's some
Uh,
panels like I think the artist kind of leaned into that too much. Like there's where it just looks like bad artwork, but I think they were trying to capture the style of like I don't know trans man.
mhm.
It's tough to draw. I think.
Yeah. Um, he basically ends up well, why don't you want to take us through it, or you want to?
Yeah, yeah. While they're discussing how to get out of this money pit, it starts raining
Right.
outside. The Lazarus rain comes down, and while these two friends are trying to discuss how to like build a future where they're just drowning in debt, they're seeing their few patrons that were outside watching the show start to transform and just irradiate with energy, and they're not knowing what to do. So there's an energy explosion from that person who is outside, and it hits his best friend, and trying to figure out what to do. He notices that what's it? What's that? What's Circuit Breaker's name? Circuit Breaker.
Jules Jordan.
Jules Jordan figures out that everything's moving slow, almost like it's still, and then sees this energy around himself, and he starts draining that ability in, but he doesn't know how to process it yet, and it explodes out of him and goes into his friend, looking like she's about to go nuclear. He focuses on everything he can, what would Flash do kind of thing, grabs some of the prop outfits and walks out there with a newfound confidence to like found from not wanting to see her friend go out in a bad way and absorbs all that energy out. That was a really dope panel, like that uppercut style,
Hmm.
the way that the
Yep.
energy sources are drawn. I was digging that. It just kind of rips it out of her and sits there and just strains and is hurting and holding it in, not knowing what to do now, not able to do anything with it, afraid to let it go, pretty much inflicting the pain on himself to no avail. And then the Flash shows up, but not
And
Wally.
not that Flash.
Boom! Last scene in Justice League Incarnate. Is this
Hmm.
Earth 22? What Earth is this?
Uh, I'd have to go back to the Big Bang and look it up in the back.
But it's the Flash of China.
Right.
It's the Flash of China shows up, who's super dope. We got a lot of stuff with her inside of the Justice League Incarnate stuff, and pretty much says you're doing good, and says like I'll get you away from harm's way and stuff like that, and we'll get to the bottom of this because I can move fast enough for this to work out just fine. And it says Circuit Breakers adventures continue in DC Pride 2023, which
Right.
that's I don't know if that's being announced yet. I thought I'd seen ads for that one. I don't think I have seen ads for that one yet.
Yeah, I know, because I don't think I think June is
June.
Pride Month, so it comes out in June, I believe. Um,
So it's going to be a
yeah,
while before we see Circuit Breaker again. Then.
yeah, yep. Because I mean, they just released this week. They released the May solicitation, so
Mm-hmm.
we won't even get those until next month. The solicitation for that, but yeah, this is another good story. It's kind of fun to see them doing something with the still force and everything again, after having kind of letting it lay low for for a little while. Um, yeah, I was definitely interested in that. The last story has to do with the envoy, um, who is basically, I think her name is Xanth. I believe her name is.
Xanth.
Right,
Xanthe. Xanth.
correct. It is someone who can commiserate with the afterlife, with people in the afterlife.
It has a big anime sword made out of sticky notes.
Yep.
Not digging all the anime influences these days.
Sticky notes equals life.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Yeah.
Um, she ends up going against these basically jumping vampires, for lack of a better term. They're called basically two different things. We see Cassandra Cain show up as well, Batgirl. So she shows up as they're battling these jumping vampires. Um, and we find out that uh, we then see John Constantine shows up as well, as part of the battle as well, because he has a bone to pick with Xanth, who basically sold him some magic papers um, that basically they're
Weren't
supposed to
sticky
turn
notes.
into, as you burn them, exactly, it's supposed to turn into real objects. And even Cassandra Cain says, scam, obviously, and John Constantine is like, yeah, but they had great reviews, you know.
Yeah, great reviews. Yeah. I wasn't
Uh,
really digging this one. It's just all action, visiting grandma's grave, a bunch of spirits awaken and attack, and
right.
Cassandra Cain was nearby. Again, Gotham vibes and all these new characters almost.
Yep.
Constantine
Um,
shows up on random.
right. And at the end of the story, basically Cassandra Cain is pulled into the spirit world, and so that's where we leave the story, knowing that we will have a spirit world number one coming along at one time. Um,
Hopefully that's
so
just a one shot.
yeah,
If it's just a
um,
one shot, I might jump in.
yeah. Which Spirit World has a very interesting history actually in the DC universe. It was a title that was created by Jack Kirby. It basically only ran for one issue, and it was published by DC Comics, but it didn't have a DC Comics logo on it. It was like Hampshire Comics or whatever. So there was no,
They didn't want to put it under their brand, huh?
I guess, yeah, yeah. So there was no distinguishing that it was a DC comic. But yeah, it ran, like I said, it ran for only one issue. Um, but that was how the Dark Fate ended. Like I said, we will roll into DC Lazarus Planet Omega
Big excited
next.
for that one. Get,
Exactly. We
get
get
Ricardo Federici back on the interiors.
yes, and we'll get the throwdown between Robin and King Fireball. So, which is where we left him at the end of the Alpha issue. Um, so definitely looking forward to that. Um, and then, like I said, we will roll into. Then we'll have Batman versus Robin number 5, and then we'll see, how quickly we get to the Revenge of the Gods, because there is Revenge of the Gods and Wonder Woman um, are both kind of have the Revenge of the Gods story. So hopefully, like you said, it'll be like a weekly type of a thing. That would just be wonderful. So.
Yep.
But that's going to do it for this episode of DC Comics Deep Dive. Again, before you leave, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, leave us some comments. Make sure you tell us, yeah, exactly, hit the notification bell. Make sure and let us know where you want us to go from, after Lazarus Planet. If you have something that any suggestions or whatever, because we would love to hear, from you guys out there. So, but that, like I said, that's going to do it. I am Paul. He,
And Mark,
right,
but we,
our Legion,
and you're now leaving Sector 2815.
not to be confused with 2814.
Different